This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
The next day, of course, we're back doing a TV taping. August 3rd, we see Ole and Arn take on the Mulkey brothers in Greenville. And then on the 9th, we're back doing TV again. It's a 90-minute episode, and you're going to be involved here. And I think we've got a clip from that. Let's take a listen here. This is from August 9th. And the Andersons are, they're looking to do something with the rock and rolls. Let's take a listen.
Rock and roll express, Ricky Martin and Robert Gibson. No double drop kick from the rock and roll today. No double drop kick. He's headed back to Anderson. Oh, wait. Somebody's got record for it. Now let's throw that back again. Here they go. They want to finish it.
So Robert Gibson has his ribs taped up. You guys take care of Ricky Morton, get him out of the ring. Now you're doubling down on Robert Gibson, who's all taped up. And of course, that is the Anderson MO. You take a body part and render it useless. And man, you guys are just rendering him as a human being useless. And all of a sudden the crowd goes wild.
Ricky Morton with a chair, a lethal weapon coming into the ring. The Anderson's off.
So Morton jumps in the ring, clears house with a chair. You guys take a powder. But boy, there is a different sound to a Rock and Roll Express fan. Those high-pitched squeals, you can catch them a mile away. It's like they're the original Hardy Boys kind of, huh?
Oh, yeah. You know, the girls loved them. Kids loved them. Grandparents loved them. You know, everybody loved them. But I'm looking at the timeline, and something tells me going back in my head that those taped ribs were probably a byproduct of that bunkhouse match. Wouldn't you think?
It sounds like it makes sense to me. Let's take a listen. Jim Cornette has got the microphone with you guys, and you have some opinions.
Hey, come on. Hey, I told them, if anybody can do it, I hope you guys do. I got news for everybody. You're talking number one contenders. What we'll do, we'll just eliminate the competition and solve it that way. That's the way the Andersons do it, right there. I talk about actions speak louder than words. And we've told Rocky, we've told Morton, we've told Robert, stay out of our face. Rhodes has started.
So now it's broken down. You guys are brawling all over the set, and we're getting a wide shot so you can really see what it looks like with that backdrop. Davy Crockett's just trying to get out of the way. Now you're going through the doors. You're like through the corridor. It looks like you're about to go through the back door here. Just an old school brawl here. How were Ricky and Robert as dance partners for you and Ole in a situation like this?
It was kind of untested waters. Like I said, their expertise was in the ring, double teaming legally, setting one guy, setting the other guy up for an offensive move. I don't think brawling was their strong suit. But the thing about Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson is the one thing that got them over was the people knew they wouldn't quit.
Mm-hmm.
They'd get their ass kicked all over the place, but they would not quit. And that's what that one intangible that you have to have as a babyface in this industry if you're going to get over. I have to know as your fan that when things get tough, you are not going to quit. You may get beat, you may get screwed. You're not going to get beat or by giving up or tapping out or any of those things. You're going to stay in the fight.
I feel strongly that saving money is important. You know, if it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan. And you can do this without perfect credit with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at SaveWithConrad.com. We're not done. Let's hear from Ricky.
Ole and Arn Anderson, you come out here, buddy, and what you're trying to do, you're trying to put one of us out because you know that we're the next NWA World Tag Team Champions. But you're not going to get the job done. Too many people out here have been out here trying to make a big reputation for themselves. at the expense of the Rock and Roll Express. But no more. We're not going to be no stepping stone for nobody. So you remember one thing. Ole and Arn Anderson, when you step in the ring with the Rock and Roll Express, we're not coming to wrestle you, baby. We're going to play your own kind of game. That's right. You're big and you're bad. But you remember one thing. You can always be had. There's a lot of different ways to take care of you. If you can't hook a man one way, David, you can always do it another way. I'm talking about this right here. We got to use it. We got to use it. Because we're coming for you, baby. We are the next NWA World Tag Team Champions. And Ole and Arn Anderson, you're going to go down by the hand of the Rock and Roll Express.
So Ricky Morton there getting fired up. I mean, he was not necessarily a promo veteran. Tony and I have been watching all of 1986, and you can see he starts to get more and more comfortable as the year goes on. And really, Crockett was almost an innovator in terms of the localized promo, and you had to do them with such frequency. I'm sure he got more comfortable, but buddy, it just comes through the screen there. I think that's one of the better promos I've ever heard from Ricky Morton. It was believable. It was great stuff.
100% believable. Had a different tone to it, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
It was like he pretty much just summed up what we talked about earlier. Hey, it wasn't being about great tag team moves and high flying stuff. He knew it was down to nut cutting time and it's time to fight. And he was up for the task. That's the guy, that's the part of Ricky and Robert that I needed to hear as a fan. And I believed it. He sounded because he believed it.
Yes. I love that. We believe it because he believed it, and he was feeling it when he's doing a promo on the TBS show that same weekend. This is August 9th. Let's take a listen to the rock and rolls here.
The program, the Rock and Roll Express, and the problems they have had with Ole and Arn Anderson.
That's right, Tony. It's on the very beginning of the show here. We figure out plans for us. I'm trying to re-engineer again. Let me tell you something, Anderson. Yeah, y'all do hurt my back, but sooner or later, your day's coming. It's going to be sooner than you think, because we are the number one contenders for the NWA World Tag Team titles. Midnight Express before long, and NWA belts go right back around the waist of the Rock and Roll Express.
That's right, Tony. Like we told Jimmy Cornette before, I don't know where he went off to. But the Rock and Roll Express are going to be the next NWA World Tag Team champions. I know that Ole and Arn Anderson is standing right in front of us. And you can see right here, on the VCR, where they try to hurt us. But look right here, the only way to get back, brother, is to fight them just like they fight us. Sometimes people try to take kindness for a weakness. But then again, you got to do something about it, Tony. Just right here, the big and tough, bad Andersons. We showed them what they got right here. You want to get down to fight, brother, we'll bring it to you. Because it's not too much. Too much we can do to keep you from jumping on us. But there's a whole lot we can do to get you off. That's just exactly what's going to happen. So you remember one thing, Ole and Arn Anderson, it's between us and you for those World Tag Team belts. And I guarantee you, they're going to the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky Morton, and we are coming right back.
Boy, how over were Ricky and Robert with that crowd? I mean, they hung on every word right there. And we're going to have that video up at the Arn Show on Twitter, but you saw they're both wearing Rock and Roll Express shirts. The one that Ricky was wearing is the one that you'll see pop up on eBay every now and again, pictures of their faces. But the one that Robert was wearing is an even more rare one. It's got the old bust from the Super Summer Sizzler tour. This past year, when I finally got to catch up with Mr. Crockett and we sat down and talked about everything that happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly over at adfreeshows.com. When we talked about 1986, he talked about how he didn't really understand what he had in the Rock and Roll Express, that their fandom and to the degree that they were popular with the fans caught him off guard. He even referenced a meet and greet that he lined up for them at a Hardee's, where he said the line and the crowd was unbelievable. Now, Hardee's, I guess if you're on the West Coast, maybe you don't know, it's a Carl's Jr. It's a fast food like biscuit and burger joint. But the Rock and Roll Express, man, and Jim Crockett Promotions, they're Southern, that's hand in hand. But the idea that, as he explains it, the line went on and on and on. And by then he realized, wait, we've got something. But in hindsight, he thought maybe if he had a bigger staff, people who could help with more of the licensing opportunities and merch opportunities, that boy, Rock and Roll Express dolls or action figures or et cetera, would have been a license to print money. I don't know that there's ever been a tag team that was as hot as the Rock and Roll Express was in 1986. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I sure would agree with it. And, you know, I'm just thinking about the stars. Number one, I can't remember what town that was, but it was some little town like Sumter, South Carolina or something. It was not some big metropolis. And we're pulling into town, and I'm, you know, I forget who I was riding with, but it's like there was this traffic jam.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh God, it's a wreck, you know. We're going to be stuck here forever. And as we're inching along and stuff, and we're seeing people pull their car over and jump out of the car with their kids, and they're running towards this Hardee's. And man, there had to be, God almighty, there had to be probably 500 people wrapped around the building. And God knows how many others that were just trying to get there. Those guys were so hot. It was just ridiculous. And, I don't think that I think David told a very, very true statement when he said they weren't prepared for it, because if the marketing machine would have been up and cranked up and pumping out, you know, it would have been printing money. And Jim Crockett would not only still be in business, but be thriving. And think about, let's just say you marketed those guys and you broke tradition, and you truly, not Horseman vitamins and a few jackets and a couple of shirts. What if you broke out the Four Horsemen and marketed them, you know, properly? The Midnight Express, and, you know, marketed those guys back in the day. That company would have went through the roof. That's just free money, because, you know, when you're filling up buildings, and buildings are three quarters full for the big ones and really full for the mid-sized ones, when you're doing that kind of business, and it's near capacity business, which the company would grow into, it's easy just to say, well, hell, the building's full. What the hell? We got to worry about, you know, marketing and all that. But man, it's just gravy. It's just gravy. And that's where WWF has stood alone, is their marketing machine. When you get a check sent to your house, it doesn't matter if it's for wrestling or for t-shirt sales.
That's exactly right.
As long as it's got some zeros on it, that's what I'm talking about.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.